Hi guys. We're gonna get started in just a minute. Give a second for people to pile in here a little bit. Got another show going on. Their musical guest just popped in, so they accidentally clicked the link to the invite, so that's fun. Gonna put some information up here in the fortune cookie. The great Weight Butt song. Okay, enough of him. I'm going to get started because it's going to be a little bit before people flow into here because there is a live show from a bar going on. So fun times. But I'm going to say hi to everybody. And for those who might be listening in on YouTube or on the web browser on the website. So my name is Deanna. You're in the Laughter After Trauma show, and I am a speaker, educator, and coach that brings light and lightness to the heavy topic of trauma. I'm a thriver after intimate partner violence, which led me to healing and finding laughter in the healing. My aim here, because I believe that we are all magic and that we are all self-healers, and the goal is simply to bring people here into the show to share stories and bring some hope, some connection, and to just let everybody know that we're not alone in this and that if we can, you can, right? And help each other find that laughter after. On the last Tuesday of every single month, Sheila and I come on here together. Sheila is a massage therapist, a life coach, and an energy healer. And she's got some other exciting things coming up too. So I'll let her talk about that a little bit because I want to hear about it. But we share tips and tools and things that you can maybe use as practical takeaways that you can take home with you and apply and hopefully help you through whether it's stress, anxiety, trauma, healing, or just pouring into yourself and giving yourself some love. So Sheila, if you want to come on up, let's see. Let me invite you to video. I think I have to do that.
Oh, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna be transitioning to a place where I can have the video on in about.
Oh, okay. Let me know when you're ready for video. Just let me know when you're ready for video. But before we go to that, are you able to speak or no?
Yes. And if for whatever reason my as I mentioned in the text, if my audio drops off, I'll just mute myself real quickly and I'll come right back on. Just having some connection issues with my device, but yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, no problem.
Beautiful
Listen, before we get into the whole meat of the show, I really wanted to talk to you because I noticed in your newsletter that I just read that you're adding something to your practice. And so I'm curious, is there something that you're doing with hypnotherapy or something like that? Can you talk about it?
So I made a decision. Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Getting a sign that. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So one of the things that I have been, as a life coach, Deanna and I have both been through the same training and through, coaching over the years, you coach yourself through coaching other people and while you're rooting other people on to reach their goals and overcome their fears and develop their purpose and move higher and higher through the energies. You can't help but to do the same for yourself, or you couldn't continue to thrive in the position that you're in. And so I made a decision, probably within the past year or two, that I wanted to continue to do a little bit more growth on my journey being a healer and doing energy work. And my goal is to slowly move out of massage and more into energy work. And I knew that the conduit to do that was going to arrive when it was time. And I knew what the conduit was going to be. I just didn't know how it was going to develop. So I realized the conduit was continuing education and getting more certification in the area of hypnosis. And so I was looking at programs, and the long story short is this program sort of came to me through a friend when I went into a moment of surrender. And the program is rapid transformational therapy and hypnotherapy. And so it's a dual certification. It takes about 6 months. It's an involved process of, I don't know how much you want me to talk about it, but it's founded on all the words that I just said: rapid transformational therapy, and then it works in tandem with a certain style of hypnosis that helps to activate, to get the person you're working with to, actualize what it is they want to happen, to go into the cause and what's blocking it, and then you just do some reframing, and then there's a process to all that, and it works, and it's the shift is very sudden and very quick, and it works for all areas in your life, or anything that you might mention. But my specialty is trauma and addiction, so I want to use that to help people reframe, which I'm already doing in my current practice. However, I don't have the quote unquote framework, because I've been developing it on my own, and I wanted to have more of a rock solid foundation through an accredited program. So
I love it.
That's what I'm doing.
I love it. I love it because I just find it intriguing. And I have a friend of mine who has done some work in the area, and I think it might be in a similar training if it's not the same one. And I think it's really cool. Tonight, though, even though I wanted her to go into that because I was curious and I wanted her to be able to talk about what she's adding to her practice. I know I've done a lot of things to add to my practice. I started out with a certification in health coaching, and it was a health and life combo. It took me over a year to do, and then I got my ULA Life certification. I've got my Master NLP certification. So yeah, you're always learning, you're always growing, and it's neat because you can go into areas that really interest you and the way that you process. And so I just love it. And then I don't feel like I have to know everything, because then I have all these people in my world that are doing different ones. And so it's great. Tonight's topic, though, focus and transitions, is going to be a pretty good topic. Hey, Sheila, I'm going to mute you. Okay. Yeah, just because she's moving around. I know she was kind of like right at the point where she was getting home. But tonight we're going to be talking about transitions and focus. Now, the reason I picked these two topics to put together is we are in a phase right now where we are going to be transitioning into fall. People are transitioning with themselves or their kids going back to school. Some of us might be empty nesters for the first time. That could be a big transition for us, or we're approaching that phase in life. Maybe some in the audience have new kids going to school. I know Stacy in the audience is a bus driver, so her new school year is starting. And then we have people who maybe don't even have children. So I have some really good friends of mine that are probably listening online that don't have the app. So they don't even have children, and they're transitioning into a period of their life that they are focusing more on themselves, moving into different areas because of our age. Maybe it's a little bit of partial retirement or full retirement. And, always when you're kind of going into the fall or you have a change of seasons, there is this transition that you start feeling in your life. You feel the need to shift. You feel the need to clear. You might feel a need to declutter, make space. That's the kind of energy that focuses around this time. And then for me, I had to put the word focus in here because one of the things that gets in my way is this lack of focus. I'm easily distracted. And so when I am working in a phase of my life or even a time of year where I'm feeling the need or the process of transition, I really have to narrow my focus in order to be able to move through the transitions. And I need to be able to really pull that focus inward so that I am really taking care of myself and moving slowly. I have to purposefully, like take it slow, um, to move through transitions. Because if I don't, and I've done this in the past, if I don't take it slow and I try to force something or try to move through it too quickly, I wind up in chaos. I wind up in chaos and inevitably some sort of crisis. So, and I am sure that 9 times out of 10, it is a little bit of self inflicted because I'm not keeping myself aware. And so for me, the focus part of this is being aware and being able to actually, like, turn inward, focus inward, and look at those things that I can do to fill my cup and take care of me in the process of transitioning. And so that is kind of what this discussion is going to be about tonight. Sheila talked about some of it in her newsletter, so I'm going to let her bring up some of the planetary things that are happening, because she's better at, like, I know it, but she's better at talking about it because it's her area. And then we're going to just talk on this subject, and we really would love to invite anybody at any time. This is not an interview type show, so the interaction is great. If you get up here, you have things to add, if you have questions to ask about this kind of thing. And if you notice in the fortune cookie, I put in a link to a freebie that I have out there. It's called Making Space for Something New. And really what it does is it talks about being able to declutter not just your physical spaces, but also your mental and emotional space. Maybe you need a financial decluttering. Maybe you need to declutter your friends. It kind of takes a look at different areas of your life so that you can make space, so you can free up the space that you need to go through a transition and to pour into yourself, to have that space and that room to focus inward. Sheila, you ready to come to camera?
Yeah, thank you. And I think I'm here. We'll see what this looks like.
All right, well, let's try it.
All right, I'm trying like position myself here. I'm trying to get furthest away from all the noise in the household.
There's no problem. I'm gonna
okay, here we go. Okay.
I'm gonna welcome everybody into the audience too. So we have Grace in the audience, we have Alex, we have Deborah, we have Stacy, and we have Melissa and our friend Waitbot. So it's really nice to have you all here. I'm so glad that I've
when you asked me to speak. So now I don't know what to say.
What?
I'm just kidding. I'm just being silly. It's Tuesday. It's been a really long day.
Yeah, no, you've had a really long day.
And part of this for me right now is I never had COVID before until 2 weeks ago. And then I was on vacation the week prior. So it's like I've never not worked 2 weeks. I can't remember the last time I didn't work for 2 weeks. And so now it's like my schedule is just overflowing with clients, overflowing with making up appointments, overflowing with, my kids back in school. The house is somewhat quieter in certain ways. The kitchen is a little less messy with my son back in college. And it's just, it's like, it's kind of jarring. It's like, I feel like I'm in a snow globe, and someone just like shook it up. And so it really convinced me, I may lose my audio in a second, so I might need like 10 seconds to change my audio, Deanna. But it really kind of convinced me to embrace that. And so one thing that I do, I always make sure I have a morning routine. So Deanna knows I just started with the green light journal. I've been journaling in the morning, and I like to find just like a book. I try to go back and forth between fiction and nonfiction, but I like to have books that are just kind of like fun beach read books because it gets my brain like out of the stress. And so if I just start my morning softly with the journaling and the reading, and then I have some other things I like to do, it helps declutter my brain and just sort things out. So I know I have something I can rely on, a structure, and I like to end my day the same way, with reading, with some sense of routine, whether it's like brushing my teeth or washing my face. So, in the past, Dan and I have talked about morning and evening routines, and it's not the purpose of what we're doing tonight, but it does help in moments of chaos and transition when you have some like reliable routines. And one thing that is going on, I'm not an expert in astrology or anything like that. But I am aware of like certain patterns, and I know right now we're going into Mercury retrograde. So that's like, everyone knows, I think, has heard Mercury retrograde mentioned by now. We have it about 4 times a year. It generally lasts about a month to 4 to 6 weeks, depending on whether or not you count the shadow period, which is the entry, and the shadow period, which is like the exit period at the end. And it tends to harvest and manifest a lot of confusion, mishaps, misunderstandings, connectivity issues with your devices. We're not going to manifest this kind of stuff by talking about it, but it's just, there's more likelihood for miscommunications with appointments and just running late. And so I was just suggesting in my prior newsletter that it's a really good time to declutter and like get stuff kind of organized in your house, like get rid of the clothes that you're not using. If it's the summer and you notice, oh, I didn't wear these clothes all summer, well, maybe just get rid of them so you don't use them again next summer, because why take up space in your drawer with things that you don't need? And it sounds so obvious, but when you remove things from your environment that you don't need, it just opens up the energy in your house, and it opens up the energy for new things to come into your life. And so stepping into a new month, it's not just a new month, we're stepping into a new season. And for some people with kids leaving the house for the first time, or maybe they don't have kids in the house anymore, but they're on Facebook or Instagram flipping through and seeing all these people talk about, oh, my kid's in 1st grade and I have another one in 5th grade and my first one's off to high school. And I think it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet. It's hard to see people going through milestones that you have already hit. And it's sort of like, what now? So it's good to have routines, and it's good to have, well, we can talk about the tools later. But anyhow, the biggest planetary influence right now, other than like the moon and the new moon and all that stuff, is the energy is always shifting, and the retrograde is a really good time to just kind of go in, assess what's working, what's not working, get rid of the things that you don't need that aren't working for you, and then start to really like stick to some routines so that, if things get quiet or a little bit lonely, like you can really tap into yourself and loving yourself and knowing that you're the best company possible. And when you get to be with your friends and you get to do things outside the house, that's like the icing on the cake. But you don't need friends and you don't need experiences of socialization to feel loved, to feel wanted. Like you can connect with yourself through reading, through taking a nice bath, through going on a nice walk, doing some yoga, writing. Right, Deanna?
Yeah. And so the other thing too is,
I hope I'm not talking to myself.
Now I'm here. Can you guys hear me? If you can hear me in the audience, give me a little clap. Okay, good. Okay. All right. So, just I'm hearing you fine, Sheila. So if you can't hear me,
okay. Sorry. No. I decreased the volume button. I hope you weren't talking, and oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed.
No, you're fine. You're fine. No, it's fine. So, life is fun. So I got this new journal too, which I'm going to get the Green Lights journal, because let's just face it, I listened to that book more than once. I do it on Audible because he reads it, and it's great. I mean, I feel like I just have Matthew McConaughey just riding around in a car with me. It's amazing. Anyway, but the journal, I'm definitely going to get the journal too, because I didn't realize that the setup and how it had prompts in it and stuff. So I'm going to get that. But I just recently got like just a little 31-day journal that one of my guests that's going to be on here next month will talk about it a little bit more. But this journal is just a gratitude journal, which I've done a bunch of times. I do this regularly. But I normally just put my gratitude in my regular journal. So this one's just specific because it allows you to have a blank page on the other side to doodle. And she calls herself Super Doodle Girl. So it's going to be fun. Also, I think Sonia, who just joined us in the audience, is another person who's just very artistically inclined. And they use this art, painting, doodling, whatever you do, they use it as a way of release, of tapping into your creative consciousness, which is what we talked about last month. And being able to process through trauma, grief, whatever else, you can use that to be able to clear your mind, stop the overthinking, allow the inner voice to come up, and use that to, as a way of processing, as part of your journaling practice. So I don't know if you do this, Sheila, but I doodle naturally. Like if I'm sitting in a meeting, or if you look at like just papers, like, okay, this is what my notes look like. I don't know if you can see this, but I have little boxes on the sides and hearts in the corners. And I mean, it's just kind of like what I do. Like I process things quickly mentally. And so when I'm writing, I write this out, I'll draw a picture, I'll put something down with it, because if not, my mind's going to start floating away from what I'm doing, especially if I'm in like a conference or something like that. And for ULA conferences, it's the coaching program that we're already trained in. And so a lot of the information is familiar. So for some people, it might take a little bit longer to do the work. And for me, because I'm familiar with the process, even though I'm doing the work, it takes some time and some reflection. I kind of know what I'm doing with it. So I might go through it a little bit quicker. So I use the doodling to I feel like it creates a mental picture for me and helps things stick. So I think, I just think people need to recognize that there's no right way or wrong way. There's no one way. It's just whatever way works for you. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
like when you journal and whatever, it's or if you so okay, let's compare journaling to meditating. So when you meditate, you don't have to be like doing all these mantras. You don't even have to be listening to meditation. You could be outside in a walk, like totally mesmerized by nature. You could be listening to music and just kind of rhythmically dancing, and just like you're just into the music. It's whatever takes you out of your head, so that you're not you pull yourself out of a rapid cycle. So if you're just obsessing over things and rehearsing things and the chatter and the mental chatter is like building and building and building, so much is distracting you that you can't focus on anything. Like that's why meditation and journaling or reading a good book, like 10 or 20 pages, like it pulls you out, it pulls the mental chatter out. So it's like whatever that is, like we have adult coloring books, in our entertainment center in the basement. My son was so cute. He's 20, and I don't know, he was talking about like we were going on vacation or something, and maybe it was when we got back, he was going back. I don't know. He said something about I need to take some coloring books with me. I think that really helps him like just get connected. And I love those adult coloring books. Like I love them. I haven't done them lately, but did someone chime? What does that mean?
That was me. I just sent some hearts because I love that. I have adult coloring books too. And a friend of mine who is dealing, so I've sent these to people. I've sent some to Melissa. I bought some from Melissa one time. I have a friend of mine also who recently is going through some health issues, and I posted about it. I was like, oh, look, I'm taking this day to myself to, just to do nothing. I'm coloring. It was, a whale with pretty flowers on it, one of those kind of coloring books, right? And so I color this picture. I snapped a picture of it. I put it up in my stories. And this girl says, oh my God, I need to do this. And I didn't know that she had never done this. I just thought, oh yeah, you need to take some time to do this. So I said, oh, you know what? I'm going to send her some coloring books. Amazon makes it so easy. So I know some people are very anti-Amazon, but whatever. Anyway, so I ordered her 2 coloring books and a set of coloring pencils, and I sent them to her. And one of her things is dragonflies. So I found one with dragonflies, whatever. And I sent her coloring books. She called me and she sent me a picture of her in her bed with her pencil set and her coloring books. And she was like, I don't even know what to say. I have never done this. I have never, ever done this. And I was like, are you serious? Like as an adult, she's never done like coloring or adult coloring book. I said, well, it is going to change your world because for me, it's like the doodling. It's like the art. It's so zen. I could, take a whole day and just zone out because my brain needs a rest, So anyway, I don't know if a day's too long. Maybe I overdo it, but sometimes I need a whole day.
Well, you know what? The reset is the biggest piece of it, and that we don't credit ourselves enough. Like for those of us that are parents, we paid some serious money for our kids to be in preschool, for somebody else to give our kids doodling activities and art projects. How like proud your kid was when they came home and they had like a pumpkin that they painted with all these sequins on it, and all these paints, and it's all glittery, and they're like, ooh, and you're like, oh my god, it's an masterpiece, that's amazing. And it's not about what they made, it's about the process and how it made them feel. And I think that's that's also a piece of this transition. Like, kids are going back to school, and and for those of us that do have grown kids or kids that are almost gone, this is a time reminiscent of learning. I think we can all relate to this as a time where at some point, like, we all went back to school. We all went back to school at this time of year, and then we become an adult, and it maybe doesn't mean back to school for us, but we relive it through our kids. And that's why a lot of my clients this week, they're like, all expressing headaches, tension headaches, base of the skull, like my shoulders, I don't know what's going on. You'd think they were so excited their kids are going back to school, but a lot of them were admitting, like, it's a lot of energy right now. It's a lot of, like, it's a lot to process. It's a lot going on, and it can be really, overwhelming. I think for all of us, like, we're all used to this time of year being the culmination of a new chapter. I got to turn something off. My phone's going off. But anyhow, so I think that you're like, the doodling is it just kind of helps ground us in the process. It helps to ground us in the process. And it's fun, and it's inner childlike, and your friend, maybe she didn't get in touch with her little girl, and that was like uncomfortable.
That's right. Well, and the other thing is, and if you're anything like me, and I've met only a few people who might not relate to this, so I'm sure everybody here will. If you didn't love getting new school supplies, like you would go and you got your fresh notebooks and you had to pick them out, and your new pens and your new paper and all your new school supplies. I love new school supplies. And so when you are missing this, if you're at a phase in your life where you're missing this, or your kids are at a point where, like, you don't need to do their shopping, or you're empty nesting for the first time, go school supply shopping. Go buy yourself some stuff. You don't need to buy the composition notebook, right? You get to buy the fancy journal, or the fancy, really good gel pens, or the really nice color pencils. Those ones that are kind of like, almost like that creamy pastel color pencils. They make some really good ones. So trust me, I know. So you get to go treat yourself to the things, and buy your own school supplies and get your new things that you want, so that you can do this creativity for yourself. It's one of the best ways to really do some release, a way to actually kind of put yourself into a meditative state. If you have a hard time stilling your mind, or kind of being, keeping your thoughts from racing, this is a really good way. Another good way, even though we weren't going to get right into some of the tools, but another good way that I think that just came to mind is also starting to learn, like, a new hobby. So for instance, a few years back, I took up crocheting. I just said, I'm going to teach myself how to crochet. And my grandmother used to do it, and my great grandmother on my dad's side, both, they used to crochet. And it was just something that always intrigued me. And my great grandmother and my grandmother both used to let me just, like, make little chains, which just was the long one link chain crochet. And so that kind of something I remembered. And so I picked up a book and I taught myself. And I've made a bunch of things by now, but because that was a few years ago. But there are phases that when I'm going through transitions, and I've noticed this, and when I'm going through transitions, I will pick up a project and I will take that project on. And for me, if I pick up crocheting, I'm needing to settle and to kind of be still and to be in. And then I'll take that because a crochet project for me, because I don't do it 24/7, so I'm not one of those people who can do it with my eyes closed. It's usually it's a long-term project. It's something I'm going to do every night, every evening, every other evening, for 30 minutes or so. I'm going to do this until I create whatever it is that I'm creating. Usually it's a blanket. and then usually I give it away. I have one here that I didn't give away, but there you go. I love it. Did the hearts. So it's just those type of things. And look, if you have to teach yourself something new, it's a really good way to become absorbed in something other than your thoughts or your trauma or your anxiety or whatever it is. It really does, again, just kind of displace some of the things that might be building up, if that makes sense. We lost you there for a few minutes, Sheila. I hope you heard me.
And I'm not sure how much my receiver is going to work. I'm having some issues, but I appreciate you being patient. This is Mercury retrograde. This is an prime example of releasing and going with the flow and not restricting yourself, not judging, not getting upset. There's nothing you can do when things just go awry. You just have to go with it and flow with it, and trust the people around you will understand. And that is part of the learning process of letting go of your triggers. So thank you for being patient. And yeah, I think I have a bag in my closet that's a blanket that I've been working, and I only pull it out once a year, and it's usually the couple months in the dead of winter, and it'll probably take me like 3 more years to finish it because I don't do it year round. But yeah, it is. And welcome to some new people arriving below. So thanks for joining us. We're talking about the transition, from August to September and what that feels like. And, the summer is very, ripe, abundant. We're outside. Everyone's interacting. It's very social. It's very extroverted. As we move into September, not only is it more introverted as we move into the fall months, it's cooler, the days are shorter. But again, we were talking about this is like your time to kind of get in touch with your inner child, and it's back to school for all of us, whether we have kids or not, whether our kids are grown or not, whether we're just single, independent people. This really is a time of year that really triggers our inner knowing and our curiosity and hunkering down and getting ready for the months ahead, because we all know that November and December can be, heavy months for a lot of people. And so this is kind of, our Indian summer, our last little moment to be free. Maybe we go apple picking, maybe we go to some fall farmers markets and we get some root vegetables and we come up with some recipes to make some stews and things like that. But you can't do that if you don't have room for these things in your refrigerator and your cabinets, and you can't get a fall wardrobe if your drawers are overflowing with clothes that you're no longer using for the summer, or things that you never wore last season. So again, you got to empty some stuff out to bring some stuff in. It's a time of renewal. It's a good thing. It's a good time to look forward to. And then Deanna asked, astrologically what's going on. We have the Mercury retrograde, which again, it's like retrograde's all about renewal. It's like sorting through the things that aren't working, ending the relationships that are no longer working, not taking on any new contracts or projects. It's not an ideal time to buy new electronics or upgrade, your phone, or buy a new house or buy a car. It's not a bad omen. It just means there'll be some stickiness in the paperwork. There might be something that didn't get signed and takes a little longer to process a transaction. But it's really a good time to just renewal in the sense of getting rid of things. And then when the retrograde's over at the end of September, hey, go crazy in October, buying new things.
Yeah, and I think there's something about this because phones, I think the Apple phones renew sometime in October. I don't know. I'm wondering if they know this. You know what I'm saying? They're on to us. Anyway, I don't know. But yeah, me and electronics sometimes, yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, and you said something too that made me think about something else. When you talked about the farmer's market and the root vegetables and stuff like that, I really do love also when I think about transitioning into the fall about how we change our eating. Because if you eat for the seasons, it's another thing that really is good for you emotionally. Because when we move into these months, we eat maybe a little more warming and heavier food, a little, like you said, root vegetables, things that are a little bit more grounding and earthy as we move into fall and through winter. And then as we move into spring, we tend to eat those lighter foods when we move into spring, into summer. And so, again, it's something that naturally we do for our transitions through these times, these phases, and these seasons. Are you with me still, Sheila? I think she's frozen. Yeah. Wait, you're breaking up a little bit.
All right, let me see if I can fix this. It must be.
Wait, I can hear you now.
Thank you.
It's just your picture that's frozen.
Better? Oh, okay. Well,
while you're kind of tweaking things, I want to invite people who are listening to come on up and share. I would love to hear. So I know Graciela is going to be on my show in October, and she is also a coach. She does a lot of energy type of work, and she's real in tune to that. And so I'd love to hear if anybody wants to share how they handle transitions. Do they feel like they're going through transitions or feel a transition coming on as we move out of summer and into fall? And if any of the things that we shared resonated with you, or if you have some tips that you use to transition or move through phases or new seasons or things like that. So if anybody has any of that they would like to share, please invite yourself up, or I can start inviting people and you can just ignore me. That's also always an option. Hey, Grace.
Hello.
Would you like to come on camera?
Oh, sure. Hi, Sheila. I don't know if Sheila can hear us.
I can hear you. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm just going there.
Well, it's okay. I mean, Sheila, if you are you in a place where I can pull you back up to video?
I can pull myself back on.
I don't know if you can.
I'm a big girl. I can do it. Oh, you're doing it too.
Do it again. I forget
I got
that
it. I got it. I can do it.
Okay.
All right. So nice to see you. Nice to see
Hi.
you.
The fun thing is, in Fireside, it used to be that the host had to invite everybody up, but now we can have co-hosts, and I forget this, so I don't have to invite you. But anyway, it's fine. So, Grace, how are you? What do you have to add for us? Welcome.
Yeah, of course. So I love the way that Sheila explained kind of like the joy of tapping into arts and crafts as adults. Because as you know, in my show, we do live painting. So we journal and we paint live. And when I say we, I mean me. I'm hoping that the audience gets their supplies and does it, but I'll do it for them. It's okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we don't tend to really rationalize, like, I'm not a good artist, like, visual painter, but I'm going to be proud of it anyway. And I'm going to walk away kind of like the kid that comes home with like, look at my piece of art that we did in kindergarten, right? Yeah. And so thank you for for articulating it like that. And I'm huge on coloring books. Sometimes I apologize if you heard that. Sometimes I'll rip the pages and frame them and gift them. right?
Oh, I
Because if
love
I
it.
do it nicely with some coloring pencils, then it's really nice. So the journaling and everything. And then Mercury retrograde. Oh my gosh, let's not even get into it. I'm just so grateful that we have people like Sheila to walk us through it, so that when there's miscommunication in the family, it's like, it's okay. It's not you. It's not me. It's just Mercury. We just need to take a breather and relax and maybe talk about it later. So it's wonderful to know what's going on. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I asked Sonia to come up, so I'm glad she agreed to come up. Sonia, do you want to come on camera? Because then you don't
No,
have to, but I can.
no, I'm just taking a nap. My hair's really
Okay.
messy.
Oh, okay, it's fine. But I know that you have an art background too, so I'd love to hear how you incorporate art into your coaching practice as well. Do you mind
Yeah,
sharing?
no, not at all. You know, I love to talk. Um, so several years ago, I was going through a bout of horrible anxiety, and I had so much internal energy I didn't know what to do with. And so I would come home and just pull out paper and just start doodling, drawing. It didn't matter if it was circles, whatever it was. And I wanted to go bigger, so I started to take that to paint. And I started painting on paper, and that's how I handled all my anxiety. And then I found a workshop that I attended. And the minute I stepped into the workshop and started working with about 20 other people, I knew that this was a real thing to do. So I started hosting workshops here in Phoenix to do that. And you know, the hardest thing is when people think is to get over the fear that it's a creative act, because when anytime you say creativity, creative, you can clear a room in nanoseconds, because people have this art fear, usually stemming from some incident when they were a child. And they think that a misconception that creativity means being an actual working artist of some sort or a very good crafter, and that's just simply not true. We were all born out of an act of creation, and we have that energy within us. We don't pursue that in life like we do reading and writing, and it's a practice, it's a habit to get into, regardless of how good you are. I did want to touch back on the whole school supply. Several years ago, there was a study that was done at Harvard where they would have people open up a box of crayons and smell it. And that smell would take them right back to a very good, happy place. And people's blood pressure would drop as much as 10 points. And
I love
so,
it.
yeah, so, you know, I often walk around smelling my crayons. And I am not ashamed of it, not at all.
You
So,
know, it's funny because I do that with books also. When I have a book
yes.
in hand, I don't know if it's the ink or if it's the glue. I don't know what it is, honestly. The smell of a new book, just fan the pages and smell them. I don't know if I'm the only weirdo that does that, but
You're not.
okay. But
You're
here's the thing,
absolutely not.
right? So, just a quick note on that. Um, the limbic system in our brain, which is the only part, it's the only emotional center of our brain that's linked to the sense of smell. None of our other senses are actually linked in our brains to any emotional center except for the sense of smell. So if you look at the nerves and the way that works, we see something, we touch something, it brings up a memory and we know what it is, but it doesn't necessarily evoke emotion. But a scent will take you to the place. It will take you into the place, the moment, the whole experience. It will do that. And it's why things like essential oils will work. If you use an oil with a specific habit and you want to create that habit and you want to solidify that, use those together and it will help in those areas. It's also why, if you smell, for me, this happened to me. If I smell my grandmother's perfume, I know the scent, I know it like the back of my hand. And if I smell that, I'm looking. It takes me instantly into this place. My grandmother hasn't been here for 10 years, more than 10 years. But it takes me into this place that I just automatically, the memories, all the memories. And so it's one of those really cool things that comes with our sense of smell. And so I love it with the colors, Sonia. I hope I didn't cut you off because I don't know if you had more to say. If you do, just feel free to unmute and talk. But just, I can smell colors right now just from you saying it. It's really cool. I don't know. Did you have anything else you had to add, Sonia? Because I feel like I stopped you from talking. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. It's fine. I really didn't. I just really wanted to get in the whole thing about the Harvard study because I thought that was so cool. Plus, it just reinforces my color smelling.
It gives me an excuse to walk around with my car. Harvard said it's okay. So I love it. Oh, shoot.
So, I think Sheila, yeah, I see you now. You're moving, but I just wanted, before I step down, I wanted to acknowledge also the transition and the decluttering. And that made me feel really good to know it, to hear it from you, because I've been decluttering for almost 2 weeks now and not realizing that I'm going with the flow of life, right? Because it is the season to be doing that. I have high school kids, so I saw them like with bags for Goodwill and, we got new stuff, so let's just get rid of this. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing the same, so let's all do it. So that felt really good to know that. So thank you, Sheila. And with that, I'll just keep listening. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for jumping up, Grace. I love it. Thank you. If anybody else wants to come up, I saw Trinity in the audience. Sometimes he likes to add to us. You can feel free to invite yourself up. I don't know if we lost him. And then welcome some of our new people. C. Dishman, I don't know if I'm saying that right. And I got a Mr. up here. So you guys, welcome to the show. But if anybody else has anything to add in this arena, feel free. We're having a conversation here about transitions, talking about moving through this current season where we're moving into the fall season. We have school starting. We have people in different phases of their life as this time of year, as we enter into this time of year that brings up different memories, different things. We're giving ourselves permission to buy new school supplies, to color, to do all the things that are creative. Doesn't mean you have to be an artist. I like how Sonia brought that up too, because I think that was a little bit of fear of mine. Like I always doodled and I drew little things, but I never, wanted to show anybody or have it out there because I always felt a little conscious about it, because I'm not an artist. But I always just did it for myself. But it never stopped me from doing it. But I love the fact that you have to reframe that and say, hey, give yourself permission to do whatever, because it doesn't matter. You can do it just for you. Nobody really ever has to see it. You can do it straight inside of your journal. I love a bullet journal, by the way, a dot bullet journal, because it gives you freedom to just create pages, which way you want to. But you do you, and it doesn't need to be for anybody else. It's just allowing whatever's inside your head out onto the paper. If it's writing, good. If it's journaling, that's great. If it's gratitude, great. If it's coloring, doodling, great. Painting, great. There's no rules. So I love how she brought that up, because that puts people at ease, I think. Sheila, do we have you with us? I don't know. You're muted. So, okay. I think you're breaking up, Sheila.
Let me see if I can fix
I got
my
you.
audio and
I got you right now.
You've got me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm in cyberspace. I exist. Okay, that makes me feel so much better. Things, the things that I shared, I appreciate you. Appreciate the fact that you teach others how to paint and get more in touch with their creative side. And to your point, Sonia, about creativity, and that can really, lose our audience quickly when we talk about that as an activity. But if you say, embrace your inner child or get close to your inner child, people kind of, their antenna goes up like, wait, what do you mean? So, the language that we use to define ourselves is something that we were told when we were younger. So, because we are all creative, we all are artists. I mean, you can look at a lot of art and it, to me, doesn't look like much, and it's worth thousands and thousands of dollars because someone deemed it valuable, and I'm like, okay, that's their style, that's cool. But we've all got a style. We're all like, we have our own signature way of our signature scent and the way that we style our hair, or if we do makeup, or the kinds of, whether we wear lots of colors or not, or glasses, or or not. And so creativity doesn't have to be part of a physical piece of art. It can be, how you decorate yourself, how you present yourself, the intonation in your voice, your mannerisms, your personality. I think that we all have gifts in different ways, but we're all artists, so maybe we're not as gifted as every single, famous artist, but we're all that. We all have it. And I think we tend to mute and dim our ability to explore when we reference the feelings that we had when we were little, because there may have been a time when someone made fun of our picture, or somebody said that's stupid, or that's ugly, or the way that you drew your picture, it doesn't look right. And so all it takes is one comment to leave an imprint that can be everlasting. And so you run that pattern, you run that language of like, I'm stupid, and I don't know how to draw, and the things that I draw are ugly, because of one thing that one person said when you were at a really formative age. So, that's worth exploring. If you do feel those feelings and you do feel like leaving the room when we talk about creativity, but it doesn't have to be anything that we said. Maybe you're a musician. Maybe you like to listen to music. Maybe you like to play the piano. Maybe you like to play the guitar. Maybe you like to play with your dog and teach your dog tricks or your cat tricks. And maybe you're really good at recycling things and, I don't know, doing something colorful with that. I mean, it could be so random. Maybe you like gardening. Like, that's artistic. That's creative. So it doesn't just have to be doodling or coloring or pen and paper, the things that we mentioned. It just has to be something that's an outlet for you. So I was just going to say, I like smelling Play-Doh. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I'm such a Play-Doh person. Like, when you're talking about seeing colors, I was like, I want Play-Doh. Like, now I want Play-Doh on my hands. That's like so funny. Like the things that you resurrect when you guys start talking about.
Right. The stuff that that triggers us. And I think you hit on something when you talk about how people might perk up when they hear, their inner child. And we're going to do an activity that taps into your inner child, because I think that most of us, when we say inner child, we immediately think of something fun or something joyful, right? Because we just think of that. Even just looking at children, we think, oh, carefree, joyful, fun, playful. And it's cool. I did something with my grandson today that was interesting because he is a preteen, right? He's 11. And he was telling me something today. We were going through some of his emotional points because he's not feeling good. And so we were going through some of his emotional points and figuring out how that linked to his alarm points and what we could do to understand maybe why he wasn't feeling good and, get to the root. And so we were just talking about it. And one of the things that's hurting him right now is his throat. And, and he has a slight headache and he's congested. And so we kind of talked about the head-heart connection and being able to feel free to express yourself. And he said, it's funny you bring that up because, lately I'm happy about something. If something good happens, I'm really happy on the inside, but it's not coming out in my reaction. Like he he noticed that. And I said, oh, I heard about that in a couple of instances that just I talked about, with my daughter. And she's like, oh, this pre-teenage years where there's just no reaction. You come home with the new puppy and it's like, oh, yay, I've always wanted a puppy. And it's like, what? And that's kind of what happened. He's like, oh, cool, I've always wanted a puppy. And there was no like excitement, and he said, I know, but I felt it on the inside. And so I said, you need a yelp, right? You need a yelp. You need to shake things out, he couldn't. He was like, I can't. He went to scream or yell or howl or whatever, and it was just not coming out. I had to make him go outside, stand in the grass. So getting in touch with your inner child. And so he's 11, and already some of that is processing. How we start to condition ourselves out of things, and we stop being excited, and we stop being curious, and we stop enjoying those things that brought us so much joy so easily when we were kids, like coloring or riding your bike or whatever. Like you said, it doesn't have to be art related. It could be dancing, singing, whatever it was. And we start distancing ourselves from that. And then we have to reprogram and reteach or reparent ourselves to bring ourselves back into and tap into and tune into our inner child and give ourselves permission to do it, to enjoy it, to say, yeah, it's okay. Stop what you're doing. It's okay. We can just sit here and color, play a guitar, sing a song, dance around the living room, whatever it is. You have anything to add, Sheila? I feel like I paused. I feel like I'm. Grace is coming back.
Oh,
of it. You can stay up here, Grace.
So I'm trying to send a comment, and I don't even know how to do that. That's what I was trying to do.
Oh, okay. Okay, listen.
So that you can continue the conversation, because
it's okay. Listen, I'm going to tell you how to do it real quick. That way, if anybody else in the audience has a problem with doing this, so you hit the react button. And you have to pick a reaction. It doesn't matter which one. And then once you choose the reaction.
Oh, it says add a message.
Then the message will appear. But you have to have a reaction before you can type the message. So, you can do a thumbs up, and then you can type a message, and then a little thought bubble will come up over your head, and we can tell that you typed something.
Yes, now I'm doing it now, but really what I wanted to just type out and say, I didn't mean to interrupt, right?
No, it's fine. That's the thing about this show. Come on. Yeah.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say is the tricky thing with adults and doing inner child work is that for some of us, our childhood was a constant state of, fight or flight or alert. So it took me a while as an adult for me to say, oh yeah, my inner child is doing great and happy and, creating and safe, right? At first with like inner child work, I didn't want to even touch it. I didn't want to go there, right? Because it was triggering. So that's also something that I deal with my clients. I'm sure you do as well. So
yeah. So like if you have some childhood trauma, you might have to go way back. Maybe you don't know what it's like to have an innocent or free inner child. Maybe you don't remember that. Maybe you're tapping into that for the first time as an adult. And so again, though, give yourself permission to explore and to be curious. And, I mentioned this in, I think, your show last night, get curious, not furious. I say this when it comes to anything that might be showing up as a blocker, something that's kind of stopping you, it's getting in your way. So for me, like I brought out here, I put this under focus and transitions because for me, I'm easily distracted. So when I'm entering in a space, a phase, a transition that might cause some changes, it's easy for me to start getting scattered, and I might lose some ability to focus. And so for me, in those arenas, I have to really hone in and slow myself down. But I also have to get curious and get to a point where I can go like, why is this happening? Why is this getting in my way? Because if I can become aware of that part of it, then it gives me the ability to also pour into myself to be able to move through that. And then every time it comes up after that, it gets a little bit easier because I'm aware of it and I've noticed it and I've taken it into account and I haven't blamed it. I haven't done anything with it. I've just objectively looked at it and said, okay, this is what it is. I'm stressing. This gives me anxiety. I've had issues around this time of the year, whatever it is. And I can just acknowledge it so that I can kind of put it in its place and then do whatever work is necessary to move through it. I hope that makes sense. Sheila, you have anything to add to that?
No, you've done such a good job tonight. I'm absorbing it all. It's awesome. And the contributions made by Grace and Sonia and audience, Melissa and Eliza and Stacy and I'm just going to call you C and Mr. And we've got our little bot down there. And, it's thank you. Thank you for bringing this topic up. Thank you for leading and thank you for your wisdom. So,
and I thank you for your newsletter that always inspires me for topics. I love it. So it's always such a good joint effort. She's like chugging along. And I know you had a long day and I'm going to try to keep it right here to the hour. Sonia, do you have anything else you'd like to add before we close out?
No, I just, I think that this topic has just been so beautiful tonight. Especially talking about transition, it goes so well with the doodling and intuitive painting process. And you certainly could continue on with this topic next week because it's so in depth and it's just so fruitful for everyone. So good job, you guys. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Sonia. Grace, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
No, I love it. I love that I'm getting to make all of these connections because I'm new on Fireside and I'm just very excited. And if you're going to continue the conversation next week, it's actually the full moon episode already. So we're going to be painting live again. And if you're going to join that episode, Deanna, make sure you have all your tools.
Okay, I will. So let me just shout this out. Grace, what time is your show? I know it's on Monday. Is it 6 p.m. Central?
Okay, so wait, Central. So it would
give
be
me your
9.
time.
Okay, so it's every Monday at 9 p.m. Central Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we meet again for the new moon and the full moon. And those 2 episodes are the ones where we journal and paint. Monday is just a conversation about, just motivation for the week, but we go deep into it for the new moon and the full moon.
Okay. All right, perfect. So I just want people to know you guys follow each other on here and just tap into some of the other people that you can connect with and tune into. So that's good. Now, listen, Sheila and I do this once a month. Next week, my show is going to be at 3 p.m. I have a couple that's coming on next week, and they're going to share, because I like to be a steward of stories. So I have 3 shows where we do stories and 1 show where we do our tools. Next month, we're going to be a week early because we swapped it with somebody who needed the last week. But the first week, I have a couple coming on here. She's going to be talking about how having a baby and her postpartum brought up all her childhood trauma. And when you want to talk about phases of life, transitions, and how things in phases and transitions can trigger and bring things up that you have to work through, it's going to be a really interesting episode. It'll be at 3 p.m. Central Time. It's a little bit earlier because they do have a 1-year-old. So 8 or 9 o'clock at night is a little bit late for them. But they're going to come on as a couple because her husband had an integral role in supporting her and guiding her through that and some of the alternative and natural modalities that they tapped into. So it's going to be a really neat show. And I have a couple other neat guests coming on. And then, of course, Sheila and I will be back. We'll be here the 3rd Tuesday, and we can talk some more on this topic unless we're in flow with something else. I don't know. I am going to start doing a couple shows on Fireside with the Mom Link because they asked me to do stuff over there. So we'll see, because that's a good place to explore some of these topics a little bit further where I can do it a little bit more often. I have to get all made up for this show. it's on camera. It's not the same. It's a little bit more work. But anyway, Sheila, I want to thank you so much for doing this with me and hanging in there. I know you are exhausted. She has been going all day. Like, she finished her last client 10 minutes before the show started. So thank you so much for being here and always kind of just, showing up. I really appreciate it. And your stuff added to this show is just makes this show 10 times better. So, and thanks you guys for coming up on the stage. And with that, I'm going to let everybody know that I see you. You are beautiful. And I want you to love each other, connect with each other. And until next week, shine on. We'll see you next week.